Good day to all of you. I am Cristine de Reyes, the representative of our group. The assigned chapter to us is Chapter 7, National Commission on Indigenous People, or NCIP. This chapter is all about what is the purpose of NCIP, in which it is to promote and protect the interest and well-being of Indigenous Cultural Communities, or Indigenous people with due regard to their beliefs, customs, traditions, and institution. Section 38. National Commission on Indigenous People, which shall be the primary government agency responsible for the formulation and implementation of policies, plans, and programs to promote and protect the rights and well-being of the ICCs or IPs. Section 39. Mandate. To protect and promote the interest well-being of the ICCs or IPs with due regard to their beliefs, customs, traditions, and institutions. Section 40. The Commission shall be appointed by the President of the Philippines from a list of recommenders submitted by the authentic ICCs or IPs. Section 41. Qualifications, tenure, and remuneration. So this Section 41 is tackled about the qualification of a chairperson. The chairperson and the sixth, and it stated that if they would like to be part or to become a chairperson, he or she must be born from ICCs or IPs group. And they must work with any relative in ethnic not at least 2 years. If they will be chosen or appointed to lead a group, he or she must be faithful and integrity in his or her duty. And they will be given only 3 years for holding and leading, and after that year, they will choose another person to appoint. Section 42. Removal from office. The President, on his own initiative or on the recommendation of any indigenous community, may remove any member of the NCIP from office before the end of his term for cause and after following all legal requirements. Section 43. Whereas the Commission proper is the policy-making body composed of the chairman and commissioners who must be natural-born citizens of the Philippines. The chairman and the commissioners that are appointed by the President with the consent of the Commission and appointments and hold 90 days after the effectivity of the Republic Act 8371. Section 44. Whereas the NCIP or National Commission on Indigenous People shall have the right to formulate and implement policies, plans, to construe and apply the law on cases brought within its jurisdiction, protect and promote the interests and well-being of the ICCs or IPs, with due regard to their beliefs, customs, traditions, and institutions. The following powers, jurisdiction, and function are Indigenous Cultural Communities or IPs can call upon the primary government agency to render assistance in the accomplishment of the mandated tasks and functions. Whereas the NCIP implements necessary legislation, plans, programs, projects, and policies for the ICCs, IPs' economic, social, and cultural development, as well as to oversee their execution. Whereas to partake the skills and assistance of experts from other government agencies or to hire specialists as needed in order to achieve its goals. Whereas to establish an ancestor property certificate or to achieve the goals of this act, to incur debt from government's different lending institutions and to pertain to the approval of the President. Whereas to make a deal to accept financial support, donations, gifts, and assets from any forms, either local and international, for the benefits of the people, which is subject to the approval of the President of our country. Whereas to monitor the proper implementation of development programs and projects and to manage it. Whereas to organize periodic IP conventions or assemblies to evaluate, analyze, and propose policies or strategies. Whereas to make recommendations to the board on the things pertaining to the ICCs or IPs and to provide on a report on its operations and accomplishments within 60 days after the end of each calendar year. Whereas to make suitable proposals to Congress in order to carry out the goals outlined in this act. Whereas to submit the necessary funding to the President's office, to complaint, certification to the grant of permit, rent, offer or any similar authority for the management of the ancestral domain by any agency or corporation by taking into account the consensus approval of the ICCs or IPs concerned. Whereas to decide complaints from the judgments and actions of the Commission's different offices, whereas to establish the relevant rules and regulations to carry out the provisions of the Republic Act 8371 to the Indigenous People. To exercise such other powers and functions as may be directed by the President of the Republic of the Philippines, and this is to represent our country's ICCs or IPs through all international conferences and meetings, recognition of indigenous peoples, and other aspects. In this section, it is stated that all official records, documents, and transactions that are used as a basis for policy development of the Commission are accessible to the public. This contributes in reducing corruption and inefficiency as well. For Section 46, Ancestral Domains Office is responsible for the identification, delineation, and recognition of ancestral lands or domains. The ICCs or IPs have the rights to be accommodated freely in the Ancestral Domains Office. Office on Policy Planning and Research. For ICCs, the Office of Policy Planning and Research will be responsible for developing appropriate policies and programs. The preparation of a 5-year master plan for the ICCs or IPs, for example, the panel shall endeavor to examine the plan every 5 years and make adjustments in accordance with changing circumstances. In addition, the office will document customary law and construct and manage a research center. Office of Education, Culture, and Health. Culture refers to characteristic patterns of attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors shared by members of a society or population. Cultural differences will affect the receptivity of a patient-to-patient education and willingness to accept information and incorporate it into his or her lifestyles. Office on Socio-Economic Services and Special Concerns. The NCIP should coordinate with pertinent government agencies to ensure that the IP beneficiaries are secure and gets their benefits appropriately. Office of Empowerment and Human Rights. It means that every IP beneficiary is provided with everything through their rights. They can afford every opportunity and also they're protected and empowered by the laws. The NCIP administrator provides the records of the minutes they had, like their meetings. Also the finances, the results of the totals. It's a discussion about money, where it goes and how much they save. The NCIP provided legal matters concerning the IP's beneficiaries. They should investigate for what happened and how the natural person violated the rights of the IP's beneficiary. For Section 47, the NCIP shall have the power to produce offices if it is necessary and ensure that the rules and regulations are being observed. Section 48. Provinces that have no NCIP office yet should have an establishment, provided that it has ICCs or IPs in order to remain the organization strong and its rules and regulations must be observed. Section 49. In this section, NCIP must have to create an office of the Executive Director. Upon staffing, the NCIP shall determine if the person is qualified and is fit the position, for it will be the one who will facilitate and organize and to remain its rules and regulations observed. And now for Section 50, NCIP must have a consultative body like elders, youth, representatives, and etc. for consultants who will help its head remain its place secure, up to date, and ensure to observe rules and regulations. I sincerely appreciate your time and effort in listening. Thank you and God bless.